And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to Headliners. My name's Dominic Frisby. Sitting to my left are two eminent comedians, and together we will be discussing the main stories from tomorrow's papers. But before we can begin, here is the news.
Good evening, I'm Tamsin Roberts. Here are the top stories this hour. The Health Secretary says there's now a community of transmission of the Omicron variant across multiple regions in England. Sajid Javid told MPs there are 336 confirmed cases in the UK and it's being found in people who have no travel history. He says it's too soon to know if the variant will be resistant to COVID vaccines.
Can conclude that there is now community transmission across multiple regions of England. We don't yet have a complete picture of whether Omicron causes more severe disease or indeed how it interacts with the vaccines.
The Education Secretary has announced a major investigation into the circumstances surrounding the murder of 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo Hughes. Nadeem Zahawi told MPs all agencies who care for vulnerable children in Solihull will be reviewed. He says while the government can't legislate against evil, more must be done to stop it happening again.
The whole nation is distraught at Arthur's tragic and horrific death. We across this House and across this country find it impossible to imagine how any adult could commit such evil acts against a child. But we will take action wherever we can to stop it from happening again, because we must do more.
Two former police officers have been jailed after taking and sharing photos of murdered sisters Nicole Smallman and Biba Henry. Dennis Jaffa and Jamie Lewis shared the photos while they were guarding the crime scene in Wembley overnight. They've been sentenced to 2 years and 9 months. The sisters' mother says they are a disgrace to the force and to mankind.
I would say they are more sorry that they got caught than they are about what they did. You know, they've got caught with their hands in the cookie jar and now they're sorry.
The Prime Minister says Northern Power Grid will reconnect more than 1,000 customers still without power after Storm Arwen hit by tomorrow at the latest. But there's more bad weather on the way. The Met Office has warned Storm Barra will hit the UK tomorrow. Yellow wind warnings are in place across the UK and a yellow warning for snow covers southern and western Scotland.
99.8% of those affected by the storm have had their power supply restored so far. But, Mr. Speaker, this is not good enough. It is completely unacceptable that around 1,600 were still in this position as of this morning.
Well, those are the top stories. Now, back to Headliners.
Good evening, hello and welcome. My name's Dominic Frisby and this is Headliners, the show in which we take a gently irreverent and early look at some of the stories from tomorrow's papers tonight. But before we reveal tonight's irreverents, who they are, we need to know what stories we are going to be discussing. So let's run through tomorrow's headlines. And we should really have some funky rundown music here, but we don't. So anyway, the Mail has Afghans killed as Whitehall worked from home. Apparently SOS messages weren't getting through or were being ignored by officials working from home and refusing to do overtime. Nice. The Telegraph has booster rollout at a standstill, and it also has that Afghan story. The Times has Omicron cases in UK double every 3 days. What they don't tell you is that the grand total is now a terrifying 246. Hidden in the small print at the top of the page is Western leaders plan reprisals if Russia invades Ukraine. I'm sure that will terrify them. The FT has SEC probes Trump's no woke group as blank check fears rise. And they wonder why the FT's readership is plummeting with headlines like that. Also, 3 big tech groups garner half of global advertising spend outside China. That's quite a stat and makes up for the previous headline. The Metro goes with Golf Aces mile-high rampage. Ryder Cup star groped a woman after champagne and pills binge on a 747. We've all done it. The Guardian leads with Afghans left to die in Kabul due to UK red tape chaos, says diplomat. It also has the rising Omicron cases and the sham trial of Aung San Suu Kyi of Myanmar. And The Independent has revealed the chaos of UK's Kabul evacuation. The Mirror has, this is a different story, a news story here, cover-up over Grenfell. And The Star, thank goodness for the Daily Star, it has boffins solve the mystery of eternal youth with great expectations, and then some strategically placed wine adverts underneath. So, before the printing press was invented, news was carried by word of mouth, by merchants, pilgrims and mercenaries as they travelled from town to town. The news they brought would then be digested and discussed in the taverns by the markets and ports where it was disseminated. And tonight's equivalent of those blokes in the tavern are former Scottish model Leo Kearse and former model train enthusiast Nick Dixon. Hello, gents.
Why do I always get the bad one?
Because you're at the end of the row and he's bigger than you. How are we both doing? How was your day? What have you been up to, Nicholas?
Great day, just in the gym, crushing my personal bests.
What, so you can beat up Leo?
Yeah, one day. I'm doing my deadlifts, doing my pull-ups. Yeah, it's pretty... I don't talk about it much.
Do you do it topless?
No, there are guys in there that do that, and I like the intimidation of that. It spurs me on.
Are you a topless weightlifter?
No, I wear a T-shirt because I'm not an animal. But, yeah.
Were you in the gym? Good day?
I wasn't in the gym today. Didn't have time. Was too busy doing shows. Did a show at Top Secret Comedy in Covent Garden, best comedy club in the world. And what's interesting is the last time I did a show there, they got a complaint email from somebody who saw me do a show in July, said it was horrific, and came back and said, I'm still horrific. So they saw me, despite thinking
They said you were unacceptable.
Yeah, unacceptable. So they tried to get me cancelled, but it didn't work.
Well, I did a show. I did the IEA Christmas party, so yeah, I'll be on. I followed Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Right.
He said I was very funny, so I'm very proud, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so to today's first story. You can't keep stopping and starting the economy every time there is a new variant, says Theresa May as she blasts Boris's handling of Omicron. This is in the Mail. Mrs May said Omicron appeared to lead to less serious illness than other variants, and the government should be learning to live with COVID. If only she was the Prime Minister. Leo.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems to be that we don't always get the Prime Minister we need for a particular time. I mean, a sort of feckless, posh buffoon like Boris would have been a great Prime Minister during the early noughties when everything was still fun. Now we kind of need the diligent public servant, the grammar school educated technocrat with an eye for detail who is Theresa May. So she's in quite wild language, which is pretty bold for someone whose wildest moment was running through a field of wheat. She said that the government shouldn't be shutting down the business and restarting, but shouldn't be shutting down the economy and restarting it on and off whenever we get new variants, which is, I mean, that's great. If only there were more people in the Tory party who thought like that.
Let me ask you a question. If she was Prime Minister, do you think she would be saying that? Or do you think she'd just be doing what she was told?
Well, that's the thing. She's got because she's a backbencher now, she's got the comfort of being able to lob pot shots at the Prime Minister without having the responsibility of having to actually, have any bodies being zipped into bags on her back, metaphorically. So, yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, the data that's coming through about Omicron is anecdotal at the moment. So we are...
No, it's not. The South African doctors...
Yeah, doctors' reports are still anecdotal until you've got tens of thousands of them, and you've actually got the data crunched.
You told.
But the anecdotal data that is coming through does seem to suggest that although it's a lot more contagious, it's a lot milder. So the symptoms are much milder, and it's almost a boon. It's almost like vaccinating people.
Yeah, I mean, this brings us on to our second story, and I haven't given you a chance to give us your views on Theresa May. Are you a Theresa May groupie like me and Leo?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, come back, all is forgiven.
Theresa May's in the gym. Leo and I both take our tops off to work out.
Yeah, and then put them back on when
Boris comes in.
Shocking and bizarre image. Well, look, I thought come back, all is forgiven, but in hindsight, Theresa May wasn't so bad. All she did was try and overturn democracy, which doesn't look that bad now, does it, compared to creating a sort of bizarre fascist medical state, whatever we've got now. So actually, yeah, but you've
medicracy.
Thank you. You've taken the point that I was going to say, which is, yeah, exactly. If she was in, would she do this? If we look at the way she behaved when she was actually Prime Minister, she'd probably be very cautious, just like Boris, if we're really honest. But I do like this second win from Theresa May.
I think when she was PM, she was trying to toe the middle of the road, and she misread the room.
Yeah, well, the only thing that concerns me, Leo's saying we need a technocratic person with an eye for detail, but that also describes Dominic Cummings. So I'm not totally sure.
I think Boris was doing much better when Dominic was his aide.
Fair enough.
So,
but I do like what she said. I mean, she said the incredibly sensible thing. This is the normal progress of a virus. Why has it taken Theresa May to say that? This is what viruses tend to do, mutate to become less severe but spread more easily. And she's the only one that's said that, of prominence that I can...
So we're going to go to our second story now, which is from The Times. It's too late to stop Omicron, says scientific advisor. And this is to do with the reintroduction of pre-travel COVID tests. They've come too late, says Professor Mark Woolhouse, because the Omicron variant was already spreading pretty rapidly in Britain. But as we've already heard, the number of reported cases, it rose by 50%, panic, to 246, which is hardly any. But that's reported. So in reality, it's probably maybe 1,000 cases. That was what they reckon. But this is what I found interesting. Not only the fact that it spreads faster, vaccines protect against it, the disease is milder, but this was from Professor Hunter of East Anglia, who said it will start out-competing Delta.
Yeah.
Now, that has to be a good thing.
Yeah, apparently it's milder than Delta.
But if it sort of gets in the way,
3.5 times.
It's like all these bland comedians coming through. These milder comedians putting us old folk out of work.
It's 3.5 times more contagious, apparently. So everybody gets it, but they don't get it very badly, which is a good
yeah.
Point.
I love the name Omicron. I said it sounds like a transformer who can instantly transform into a police state, which I thought was a decent joke. It's above average joke, isn't it? Because everyone says it sounds like a transformer. I took it to the extra level. But yeah, it's too late to stop Omicron. Now it sounds even more sinister. But as you said, I mean, one of the scientific advisors, Mark Woolhouse, has basically said that the horse has bolted. It's already here. Why are we doing these travel restrictions?
Yeah.
And Grant Shapps said the tests would... These are the pre-departure tests for travel. They would kill off the travel sector again. Like, how many times can it be killed off?
Yeah.
It's like a zombie. Like,
this is bound to come back and bite us. It's going to turn out to be it's going to be like the Zeta variant that kills everyone.
I think we'll look stupid.
But on the assumption that it doesn't, surely this is a good one to get your herd immunity up.
Some scientists have been saying we should lift all travel bans to let it spread. They say because it's milder, because it spreads so much faster, it's the one we want everybody to get. And that would certainly be good for the travel sector. But the thing is, the government's making lots of money. Remember Owen Patterson getting all these backhanders from Randox. Everybody's got their former pub landlord making PPE, making PCR tests and all these day 2 and quarantining. You think how much money the government's getting from Travelodge right now for these quarantining travellers. I think they don't want to lift all these bans because they're making money from them.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cronyism, but this is my sort of uber-anarchist friend describes what's going on as the medical dictatorship, which is quite a good way of looking at it. And I think there's a huge power grab going on, and it's in the interests of a lot of bodies, particularly people who get large government grants or get their little viruses or their masks or their treatment sold. It is in a lot of people's interests to talk up the dangers, because their livelihoods and their new status depend on it.
And I don't think that's a particularly extreme position, that it's a medical dictatorship. I mean, it's not far off, is it?
Quite strong
maybe
language.
I'm equally extreme. But yeah, the problem is this better safe than sorry attitude doesn't really work, because every time you bring in some new measure, or even just the fear of measures, it hits industries like travel and hospitality massively. Just the talk of the restrictions is enough to ruin lots of businesses. So yeah, I don't believe it's better to be safe than sorry necessarily.
OK, we move on to our next story, which is in the Telegraph. And this admission by Dominic Raab, the Justice Secretary, that the parties at Downing Street may have breached COVID rules. These are the two gatherings at number 10 this time last year, one when the UK was in lockdown and one when London was in Tier 3. I can't even remember my tiers, but anyway, well, not those tiers anyway. I'm amazed that this has taken a year to come out, and I suppose you can't blame Raab, as he says, I don't know the full facts because I wasn't there. And I guess you have to give number 10. You presume they followed the rules if they understood what the rules were.
Sure. Oh yeah, when they're not driving to Durham or snogging their colleagues. I've got such faith in the government to follow the rules they told everybody else to follow. Lockdown was great for me because I didn't follow the rules either. It was a brilliant time to get trains to places because you had the whole carriage to yourself. But yeah, I mean, it just shows how the government comes up with these rules and doesn't follow the rules themselves. So Dominic Raab,
they don't even know what they are.
This is nobody knows what they are. They're so complicated. It was like reading the terms and conditions on a train ticket. Like you need a legal team to check, which tier you're in and what you should be doing. But so this is in the Telegraph. Dominic Raab has acknowledged that a party at Downing Street last Christmas would have breached COVID-19 guidance, but insisted the allegations were unsubstantiated. So he says it did break the rules, but the allegations are unsubstantiated.
Did you see?
I'm glad he's not my lawyer.
Well, yeah. Did you see the interview? It was one of those where Ma was going, rah, 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 and he was just sort of like a rabbit in the headlights. And he just went, yes, he sort of said it, but very unwillingly. I don't think he quite knew what he was saying. And
right. It's like being interrogated by the Stasi.
Well, yeah.
You just sign anything to get out of it. Which, interestingly, I mean, everybody seemed to be acting like the Stasi during lockdown. People I knew on Facebook were posting, oh, my neighbours are having a barbecue, and I think there's 7 of them instead of 6. It's like, why don't you wind your beacon, you little curtain twitcher? Just at least the Stasi were getting paid. You're doing it for free.
Are you a curtain twitcher?
I'm not sure you even need me on this show, but it's a new format where just Leo show. It's the problem with this thing last year is that everyone thinks they did it anyway. I mean, we both laughed when you said they probably didn't break the rules. Everyone thinks they broke the rules, so they've lost the trust of the people already.
They have.
I checked with my representative from Middle England today, which is my mum, and she is saying she's going to do Christmas, whatever. She's singing the Messiah. She doesn't care what Boris says. And this is how most people, I think, feel now. They're not going to listen to any more restrictions.
It's incredible that you're a rebel when you sing the Messiah.
And that's where we're at now, isn't it? I know. And like Leo says, it's all theatre anyway. We know they're all breaking the rules. G7, all those kind of things. And we saw Zara Sultana today talking at the Mobo Awards with no mask after she said she felt incredibly unsafe in the chambers because Tories weren't wearing masks. And we know that no one actually cares about it. So no one's going to follow the rules anymore. Even if it proves that they actually didn't breach them, the idea that they did is out there now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we see with Zara Sultana, like it's this sort of woke doublespeak. I feel unsafe at this unwoke event, but I feel safe at this woke event. So there's
the
no
virus knows which
objectivity.
events are woke. I know.
Yeah.
And then you have this line, which is actually Raab trying to be nice, but he says the government wants people to be able to enjoy Christmas this year. You just think, oh, thanks. Why is that up to... That is fundamentally absurd that should be up to the government. Even if he's saying they want... Oh, thanks, government.
I do. If I'm going out for dinner now, I phone up the government and check if it's OK to enjoy myself.
What do they say?
They say, I've got to be alert, but not alarmed. That's the one they said about terrorists.
Face, hands or something.
Keep anxious and carry on.
Yeah. Right, are we done with this? I think we have bled this story to death like leeches. We're going to take a break now for the weather and a few ads. We'll see you in part 2. Don't go anywhere.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello again. The next 24 hours sees significant changes take place with our weather. Initially, calm and chilly overnight. But then Storm Bara arrives on Tuesday morning, bringing a spell of disruptive wind and hill snow in some places. Any showers through the evening dying away, many places turning clearer and winds dying down. Under those clear skies with lighter winds, a widespread frost forms across central, northern and eastern parts of the UK. Temperatures in towns and cities down to -1 Celsius, in the countryside even lower than that. But it's the calm ahead of Storm Bara, because this is a rapidly deepening area of low pressure that hits the Republic of Ireland initially during the early hours of Tuesday before sending rain and gales into much of the rest of the UK. So soon enough it turns wet and windy across Wales, southwest England and Northern Ireland. Some hill snowfall, western hills of Northern Ireland as well. That rain and wind move east through the day, followed by blustery showers, and the wind's really picking up. 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts in exposed western and eastern parts of the UK, 60 mile per hour wind gusts inland. But as well as the heavy rain and the strong wind, we're going to see a spell of hill snow. Northern England, much of central and southern Scotland, wet snow down to lower levels, but disruptive snow over the hills, blizzards and drifting of snow likely, and over some of the higher routes, 2 to 5 centimetres, and some of the higher spots of Northern England and central southern Scotland, seeing 20 centimetres of snow building up. That's all followed by blustery showers, and Wednesday is another very unsettled day with Bara still centred over the UK. It is filling, so the wind's not quite as strong, but still the potential for gales around South Wales and southwest England, 65 mile per hour wind gusts accompanied by blustery showers. Many places seeing those showers come and go through Wednesday. Further showers, mainly in the east on Thursday, with brighter skies arriving in the west.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Hello and welcome back to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby, and with me are Nick Dixon and Leo Kearse, who was voted last year the sexiest Scottish comedian at his altitude level. We've done the front pages, Let's Look Inside, and our first story in this part is in The Guardian. Boris Johnson has successfully fought a High Court challenge over his decision to back Priti Patel after accusations she had bullied civil servants. The FDA union, which represents civil servants, brought a judicial review after the Prime Minister decided last year to go against the findings of his then advisor on ministerial standards in order to back the Home Secretary. In a ruling released today, Lord Justice Lewis, sitting with Mrs. Justice Steen, dismissed the FDA's claim. Lewis said Johnson had not misdirected himself as to the provisions of the Ministerial Code when reaching his decision. To me, this looks like another ongoing battle in the civil war between the government and the civil service. Who wants to go first on this one? Nick?
Well, you've covered a huge amount of the story there. Yeah, it's The Guardian has Boris Johnson fights off legal challenge over Priti Patel bullying claims. So, look, bullying is a serious thing. Leo bullies me on this show. He tried to touch me in the unisex toilets before, but...
Give me your dinner money.
Flashbacks. I'm getting flashbacks. Look, it is an important story, but is it? I don't know, really. It's a fairly... It's one I've got this on the important yet boring is how I categorise this one. You've basically covered it all. I mean, Boris... The court has found that Boris didn't do anything wrong. He's quite good at sort of wriggling out of these things. And the ministerial advisor, Sir Alex Allen... He left because he felt that Boris had not addressed it properly, but Boris has been acquitted as saying, he did address the bullying, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know what bullies look like, but I would say you look more like a bully than Priti Patel does.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, what, she's like 5'2" or something? Who's getting bullied by Priti Patel? Also, you're a senior civil service. How do you get to that rank with so little backbone? The society's just turned into a bunch of people running to teacher and crying, "Oh, miss, Priti Patel bullied me." Like, grow a spine, for God's sake. How much taxpayers' money are you paid to be a big crybaby? I think they're just trying to get early retirement.
I think it's the ongoing war between an ideologically... a civil service that has a different ideology to this government, and it's part of their sort of war.
Right.
Yeah, and even though the government had this victory, I think the civil service is winning the war if COVID's
I do sort of know what you mean, because the civil service people I know, I find it hard to imagine them being bullied by Boris. They basically all hate the government. I can imagine them bullying him. They're all, like you say, it's an ideological war.
They're just abusing these HR rules to try and score points against the government. And, like, bully is just a word that losers use to describe somebody who's beaten them in some way.
Leo Kurtz with an edgy pro-bullying
There
stance.
we go. Bring back bullying. So, to a story in the Mail. You've said that before, haven't you, bring back bullying?
Oh, I think bullying is fantastic. Look at the world we've got because we eliminated bullying in schools 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't have all these hipsters and millennials crying about microaggressions if they were just held down and punched in the face when they're 14 years old.
I'm against bullying. I'm just going to give the Ofcom regulation, give the balance by saying I'm anti-bullying. And I actually am against it, so it's my real view.
Did Ofcom bully you into saying that?
No, I just think, have you been to a comprehensive school in the north?
I've been at a comprehensive school that's substantially more northern than you.
Yes, but we've established you were the bully, so of course it was great times for you. Was it great times for all of us?
I remember when
some of us it made us. How did you become a comedian? I mean, this is what makes you into comedian, getting bullied. But you got into comedy by being the bully. That's so rare. Anyway. I'm fine.
To a story in the Mail about ministers striking out rules they don't like. Don't they always do that? This is very Orwellian. A yearly interpretation bill to counter unhelpful court rulings. Leo.
Yeah, so this is ministers could strike out judicial rulings they don't like under reforms being pushed by Boris Johnson. So he's got formed just a few weeks ago. The Owen Paterson scandal really blew up because he wanted to change the Parliament Standards Committee to stop them being able to investigate ministers. So again, they're looking at a system of annual legislation that would effectively overrule judicial reviews of policy. And number 10 is in favour of the approach, but the judiciary are against it. And this could be because Boris has clashed heavily with the judiciary in the past. So in 2019, the Supreme Court ruled that proroguing Parliament for 5 weeks just before a Brexit deadline had been unlawful. And to be honest, it's an awful idea. Boris seems to be looking at what's happening in Russia, in China and Belarus and thinking, why don't we do that here? Why don't we have medical apartheid? And why don't we have, this? Why don't we bring in all these limitations on our freedoms and give ministers more freedoms? Because ministers abuse legislation. You saw it in north of the border. Sturgeon used the hate crime bill, or certainly the essence, the sort of power behind the hate crime bill to depose Joanna Cherry, one of our rivals from the front bench for alleged transphobia, which was concocted. It's an awful idea. We need a free and independent judiciary. This is the fact that
it's a power struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, similar ideas are very popular with despotic governments, around the world. So I think we should, in the UK, which is seen by some as the birthplace and the home of democracy, we should avoid it.
Surely Greece is the home of democracy.
Yeah, they had it for a bit, but I think we've perfected it.
OK, so to the Telegraph, the government are going after middle-class users. That's me and Leo screwed. Should people in glass houses throw stones, Nick?
Right, yes, well, the Telegraph has an end of slap on the wrist for middle-class drug users. Boris Johnson wants thousands more lifestyle drug takers to face tougher real-life consequences for use of substances such as cannabis, cocaine and ketamine. I was going to say, tough times for Leo. You've already said it, same joke. But hey, this is a
can't win tonight.
I know it's fine. This is my last show. It is ironic coming just after we found, well, not we found, but there were found traces of cocaine all over Parliament. So it is an ironic timing for this. So there's a whole debate here on this drug users middle class thing. Basically, it's should we go lighter on people like they do in Scotland? They have this diversion thing where they possession for Class A drugs is now not an arrestable thing. They're saying they're going to move it to a warning, and they're claiming this actually leads to less reoffending. But on the other side, just to give balance, you've got the Peter Hitchens sort of side who says we need to clamp down much more on possession, and he believes that they do that in Japan and South Korea, and that works much better. I was listening to a radio debate just before I came over, and Peter Hitchens called this new policy tripe marinated in bilge, because it is a sort of nebulous policy. You wonder, like, what are they actually going to do? Is it going to actually work? Are they actually going to clamp down? And I think there are some questions about that.
Yeah, what's the social benefit of this policy as well? If we're going to be locking up middle-class drug users, so the people who work and pay taxes to support the economy, what's the social benefit of sending a lawyer or a doctor to jail? Well, maybe the lawyer, I can see the benefit. But what's the social benefit of sending them to jail for a bit and ruining their lives for a bit of cannabis or some mushrooms?
Well, the song goes, the drugs don't work. But I say the drugs do work. Yeah. Prohibition doesn't work.
Absolutely. And the government is ignoring their own advisors. They ignored David Nutt.
They were going to legalise cannabis. Do you remember Sajid Javid was going to legalise cannabis?
Mushrooms were legal. They used to be legal.
And they've gone the other way. Well, they're like indigenous. Yeah. You're not British until you've done magic mushrooms.
How can you make something illegal that just grows out of the ground?
Nick's always every September we go up to Cumbria and do magic mushrooms with Nick's mum.
Well, I have to say I take a different view. I deplore all drug use. I don't even drink, so I take a very different view to you guys who are sort of hedonists, wanton hedonists. It's not really about me though. It's the problem, Leo. The social cost is that if you've got these middle class drug users doing drugs, it creates a whole line of problems for other people in other countries, the people who make them. And the county lines drug thing.
There is a deeper story about the county lines, and county lines is horrible. But the idea that all the evidence is that drug taking is on the increase, the more you attack it.
Yeah. Well, some people some people like Peter Hitchens has a whole book absolutely disputing that. So it is disputed.
Well, why doesn't Peter Hitchens not take drugs and mind his own business, and then other people can do what they like with their bodies?
Well, it's because of the knock-on costs of it. If you're there doing all your drugs, your little parties, and the knock-on effects of that.
The knock-on costs are caused by prohibition. So they're caused by the illegality, which means that criminal gangs have to be the ones bringing the drugs.
The evidence is there for you. In 1920s USA, right, everyone's favourite prince, Harry, seems to have thrown his dad under the bus in this next story in the Telegraph. This is you, Leo.
Yeah, so the Duke of Sussex, a.k.a. Prince Harry, has revealed that I thought he had to stop using his title, but they're still using it here in the Telegraph. He's revealed that he expressed concerns about the motives of a Saudi billionaire donor at the centre of what he called the CBE scandal. So this is basically his father's aide, who's called Michael Fawcett, was I think he's had to step down because of
he did,
giving promising honours in exchange for donations. So Prince Harry held a private meeting with Mr. Mahfouz. This is the billionaire Saudi donor. Who'd have thought a billionaire Saudi donor would have nefarious intentions? I thought he'd just be the most wonderful, just donating money for the good of humanity. But so he donated.
There's nothing necessarily nefarious about wanting something for your cash.
Yeah, exactly. And that's CBE. Why not? It's just a badge.
Yeah, and it's
it
not
doesn't
even
really
that good.
mean
It's
anything.
not like knighthood.
But I mean, to be fair, for a billionaire, he donated £50,000 to Prince Harry's charity, which is called Sentebale or Sentebali. Which 50 grand for a Saudi billionaire to a duke doesn't seem that much money. I mean,
what does Prince Harry's charity do?
He probably spends that in Salt Bay's restaurant. So yeah, but Prince Harry is in trouble, so he's immediately panicked and tried to blame his dad, which you know, you got to respect the gutlessness of that.
Right, we're going to take an ad break on that note, on that anti-Harry propaganda from Leo Kearse. Thank goodness Harry wasn't at school with Leo, otherwise Leo would bully him. Yeah. Don't go to sleep. All the best stories are in part 3. We'll see you in just a moment.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, the show in which we look through tomorrow's newspapers the night before the morning after. My name is Dominic Frisby, and with me are Nick Dixon and Leo Kearse, and we are Keith from The Office's favourite comedians, if his social media posts are anything to go by. What was it he said? Ofcom unacceptable. So, to tonight's first story. Nick, you've got one. This is a story about Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yes, this is in the Times. Aung San Suu Kyi jail sentence commuted to 2 years after junta pardon. So this is Myanmar's deposed leader. So ostensibly that sounds like a good thing. Her sentence has been halved. But really it's all a bit of nonsense because this is a series of verdicts that could see her jailed for life. So the UN human rights chief has called this a sham trial and said it would only deepen rejection of the coup that took place, and Amnesty has spoken out against it. It's a terrible thing really that's happened. I mean, she's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and they got rid of her, and they're putting her through this show trial essentially.
Tell us some of the things that she's been done for. Not social distancing.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is it. The one of them was breaking COVID rules. One of them was something to do with COVID rules. My favourite one was that she was charged with possessing illegal walkie-talkies. I mean, that's when you know they're looking for stuff. I mean,
importing walkie-talkies.
Right. That wasn't even a crime when the lads back home used to put them in their Vauxhall Novas and shout to each other like boy racers. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's incredibly dodgy, pathetic charges, and it's all very unfortunate, really.
I wonder what smartphone usage is in Myanmar. I've got no idea, but presumably, if they're prosecuting for importing walkie-talkies, smartphone usage isn't that widespread.
I know what you mean. It's one step beyond the Nokia 3210, isn't it? Or a burner phone. It's like, mate, I'm on a walkie-talkie. But yeah, it is a horrible story.
But what's interesting about this is the thing she's being done with echo the laws and the rules that the government's brought through in the West. So in the West, you know, people are getting arrested for going to protests and you know, speaking to the wrong people, having the wrong opinions. We've got hate crime laws coming through, COVID laws, incitement against the military. That's, you know, Trump was kicked off Twitter and everything for incitement to protest. So what happens in the West is then, copied and used. We've seen this happen in Belarus as well. They copy the sort of wordage, the verbiage of the laws that we're bringing through.
Worrying times. Right, we've got a story in the Mirror next, and a rather ingenious teacher, Leo.
Yeah, I like this story. I mean, it must be a nightmare for teachers because you want people to pay attention in class. They don't pay attention because they're on their phones, and then they use the phones to cheat when they're in the exam. So this teacher became fed up with students using their mobile phones. So
apparently what everyone's doing is they're going, during their exams, they're all going for a pee break and then quickly looking stuff up.
Yeah, that's what I was
about
to say.
Oh,
Thanks
sorry. I thought you'd missed that key bit of the
I'm
thing.
starting at the top. So this teacher was annoyed at students using their mobile phones. So yeah, half of them got up during this exam to go and use their mobile phones. What they didn't know was that he'd actually created a trick question. He'd put the answer to the trick question online, so when they Googled it, his answer would come up, and it's an incorrect answer. And he hadn't taught them anything about that particular thing, so the students who just used their classroom learning wouldn't know how to answer it. So the half the students that didn't go to the toilet stayed in and got almost full marks, apart from that one chunk which they were like, I don't know how to do this. And then the ones that went to the toilet were failed and reported to the university for breaching their violating their academic honour pledge. I don't remember having an honour pledge when I was at university.
Yeah, they got given a 0, and the other ones who didn't cheat got full marks.
Yeah.
But here's an edgy take for you. I think the kids who cheated actually did a better job, because that's a better skill in the future, is looking up things quickly on the internet.
Yeah.
Being that resourceful and quick is a more useful skill than remembering some old rubbish by rote that you have to remember in school.
But it sort of shows that you can't rely on the internet for a valid. I mean, we see too much journalism that just looks at Wikipedia and doesn't realise that can be edited by anybody.
The cheaters are the risk takers. They're they're the ones, the innovators. They've got the get up and go. So that'd be really interesting if we could come back and find out which of the two groups are more successful.
Like a documentary.
The honest ones will all get the job.
I'll Google it now.
We can't Google the future.
Well, maybe there's a gap in the market then for a new search engine.
Yeah. Right, Nick, it's the Mail next, and the Zoom call from hell.
Yes. Daily Mail. Boss fires 900 people on Zoom call. I'm no expert, but that's quite a lot of people. So the CEO of Better.com, which is a mortgage lender, he's called Vishal Garg. He came on a call and basically said, anyone who's on this call, soz, you're fired. And it's quite a good video. One employee says, F you, dude, in the background. He was wearing one of those body warmers. I don't know why CEOs are always wearing those body warmers, you know what I mean, with the sleeveless tank top thing.
Because they get cold torsos.
That's it. And, but what was interesting, he's a bit of a controversial guy, this CEO, if you look up some stuff he's done. So here you go. Speaking to Fortune, Garg, who once threatened to staple a former business partner to a wall and burn him alive, according to court documents. That's in court documents. Fairly controversial.
Now that's bullying.
Yeah. Oh, Priti Patel.
My other favourite bit is in the call. I say favourite. I'm not making light of the people who have been let go. But my favourite bit, in inverted commas, is he said, the last time I did this, I cried. This time I hope to be stronger. It's like, not particularly what you want to hear about, is it? It's like whether the CEO is going to cry or not. It's like, it's not really about you, mate. Do you know what I mean? Imagine being fired, and then he says, last time I cried about this, but this time I'm hoping I won't cry over your sacking. You're like, all right, cheers, mate. So, yeah, it was a very strange way of sacking 900
people.
But he
cheats in his exams.
Classic exam cheat.
I love his name, Garg.
Allegedly.
Sounds like he's going to confront Omicron in a climactic battle.
Garg.
Japan, yeah.
Right, we've got a story about dodging the vaccine next. Leo, you've got this one.
Oh, I love this story. Yes, this is in the Independent. So an Italian man got caught trying to use a prosthetic arm to get the COVID vaccine. Although prosthetic arms can't actually get COVID in the first place, so it's pointless. But so the nurse, Philippa Bua, she's 60, she told the Italian newspaper La Repubblica that she immediately realised something was off. She asked the man to remove his shirt, which revealed the prosthetic. So I think she was going to inject through the fabric, but realised it felt wrong. So she said she was suspicious of the colour of the man's arm and the way the skin felt. There were also no visible veins. I mean, I can see how she passed her exams as a healthcare professional. She can distinguish between a dead rubber arm and a human being. That's incredible. I don't know. I think if people are using fake arms to get around having a vaccine, maybe vaccine mandates are a bit too far. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's a legend. I mean, he's optimistic.
Or an arm end.
Yeah. Well done. He's a top. You used to do puns, didn't you? He's a hero because an optimistic hero. The idea that he was going to get away with it. Yeah. But yeah, my Italian friends have said there's been these no jab, no job policies where you have to pay really expensive lateral flow tests all the time or whatever. And even I think next year they're going to go to like you say mandatory vaccines. So why should the government be able to stop you working? All this guy's trying to do is work and keep his job without getting the vaccine. That should be his right. Yeah. And if he has to use a fake
I think you can't go into restaurants and all that without vaccine passports as well in Italy.
Right.
And if you get in, it costs you an arm and a leg. OK,
on
fine.
We move on to The Guardian, and GPs are to prescribe non-judgmental exercise classes for women. I think you've got this one, have you, Nick?
How very Guardian. Yeah, exactly. Well, you've said the head of GPs. Yes. So this girl who is behind this, and the idea is get people started on exercise, specifically women, without any judgment, which is not a bad idea. I mean, it's sort of easy to ridicule it, but it's a pretty good thing. I mean, it's for people. We were talking about gym before, and whether you feel threatened by topless men in the gym. I like it because I like the shame. It spurs me on to do more, you know what I mean? But not everyone does like that. So for those that aren't a fan of that, this is a sort of fitness scheme to get women started on exercise, basically.
Yeah. It's so patronising, though. They've got how patronising must women feel? They've got a campaign saying, "Oh, this girl can." I mean, that's almost like implying that she can't. Like, why wouldn't she be able to? It's ridiculous.
Well, they can't statistically. They can't. That's what it's saying. That they in the pandemic, their women's inactivity levels was a gender imbalance.
Right.
I just got more and more ripped, whereas women just fell behind, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they're having, judgment-free exercise classes, as long as the women understand that I will be judging them. So,
it's the Mail next. I'm sure they can't wait. It's the Mail next, and a couple in California are suing their estate for racist home valuations, Leo.
Well, yeah, this is quite a crazy story. So this is in the Daily Mail. Obviously, this is one instance, so we don't know if this is just a crazily disparate valuation. But in the Daily Mail, so a black couple say they believe race was the reason their home in Marin City in the Bay Area was undervalued. They bought their home in 2016 for around $890,000, but it was valued at only $995,000, despite them spending $400,000 on renovations. Not sure what those renovations were, if they, properly pimped it up with like leopard skin or whatever. So, not all renovations. A swimming pool actually can lower the value of your house. But when their white friend posed as the owner, it was valued by a different estate agent at $1,482,000. So that's an increase of almost $500,000 more. So that's a huge increase.
50%.
50%.
Almost 50%.
Yeah.
I think they bought their house for like a 500 or 600 grand, didn't they?
890,000.
Oh, okay. I read a different stat in my Daily Mail. Go on.
No, I was just going to say the problem with this is racism, but it's racism that's made them rich. Do you know what I mean? By using the white couple, the valuation went way up.
Yeah.
But you say it's a different company. I'm a bit confused because it says AMC were tasked with handling the couple's valuation and were also behind the second valuation, which drew a dramatic increase in price. So the same sort of company was ultimately behind it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. But I mean, this shows why, people think society's moved on with Black Lives Matter and all the rest of it. But I think what's happened is overt racism has been reduced, but there's still, this sort of underlying racism has been suppressed.
If you've read the book Freakonomics, there's quite a lot of stuff on this kind of thing. If you've got a name that's obviously a black name rather than a white name, you're less likely to get job interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Although this was published 10 or 15 years ago. I imagine the same thing is going on here. But I have had properties valued. You get a property valued by your local estate agent, and then you get Foxtons in to value it, and they'll value it at £500,000 more than the local estate agent will, and that's just Foxtons trying to secure the instruction.
Right.
So it does happen, and the golden rule is always get your property valued by at least 3 different people.
Right.
And they've just got it valued by 2.
With 3 different ethnicities as well.
Well, no, I'm not denying that's not a factor, because it clearly is.
Yeah. Well, it's one instance, so we don't know for sure if it's. But it'd be great to see some sort of longitudinal, actual quantitative study done on this, with to see what impact race has in property valuations.
Yeah, I think it would be race, but also Because you could have like a really tacky but showy working class white family, and they've got all horrible gauche kitsch stuff, and you'd get the sort of class prejudice affecting their valuation. Whereas you could have like a really educated black professor or something who's got like really nice books, and you'd get the same class valuation pushing up his valuation. So I think it's a bit more nuanced than they're making out.
Yeah, we learned about your attitude towards class in that first sentence. Tacky ghost.
Right, moving on, having just completely revealed all my horrible internal workings, we go to the Daily Mirror next, and political asylum for giant pandas, Nick.
Yes, call to give UK's only giant pandas political asylum over fears they will be killed. So yes, there's a lot of people who want to get these pandas into the country. Shamima Begum should dress up as a panda. Am I right? Just an idea. Just an idea. So
you always see these situations in black and white.
Nice one. You really brought the puns today. So look, yes, the people are trying to save these pandas. John Robbins of the charity Animal Concern told the Scottish Sun, "I have real concerns that if they go back to China, they could end up on the dissection table," which is the kind of thing you're not meant to say anymore. But it's controversial, isn't it? But he went for it. And yeah, people are just trying to save these two pandas. That's basically the entire story. Their names mean sunshine in English or something.
They've had the pandas for 10 years,
right?
And they haven't successfully reproduced. And the reason they were brought over is to reproduce. Right. And so this is why I think they're going to have to send them back.
They came to Scotland to reproduce. Why not send them to the Maldives? Somewhere romantic.
They should have sent them to Barbados.
Yeah.
And some people in Scotland might not like this. It costs the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland $35,000 a month to care for the pandas whose names mean sunshine and sweetie. So what do you feel?
Right. They don't know that if they send them back, they're definitely going to be killed.
They don't know that. That was one person's fear. Someone else said they'll go to a retirement home for older pandas. I don't know. What do you think, Leo, to your country housing these pandas at your expense?
I mean, it's not at my expense. It's at your expense as an English taxpayer.
Right.
But, I just want to know what the pandas did to be executed in China on their return. Did they convert to, to become Uyghur Muslims? Or, are they political dissidents now? I didn't know that Chinese repression had extended to animals.
Call me a conspiracist. But at the end of the article, there was a little comment about how the charity's revenue has fallen since the COVID crisis.
Oh, yeah.
And one wonders if they're turning this into a bit of a to get a little bit
of theatre to get some, pay for some more bamboo.
The Sun next, and the worst Santa's grotto in the country, Leo.
I love these stories. So, this is in the Sun. So, furious parents have slammed a town's shambolic Christmas grotto amid a building site with a grumpy, beardless Santa sat in a stairwell. This sounds like it was directed by Ken Loach. So hundreds of excited families had flocked to the Santa's Grotto attraction, but were met with roadworks, 5-foot metal barriers and long queues because it's Britain in 2021. When Santa eventually arrived in a Range Rover, so he's obviously doing all right. I think he's selling some of those gifts on eBay. He met children with his fake beard pulled down under his chin. He's obviously used to wearing a face mask. So I love these stories. They come out every year.
He doesn't even wear glasses. There's no reason for him to pull the beard down over his chin.
Yeah, but these stories, it's always, you get angry dads fuming that they've spent 120 quid to take their kids to, some grotty, muddy industrial estate just off the A1 with, instead of a reindeer, they've got like an Alsatian with a coat hanger on its head and, a grumpy dwarf smoking a B&H Super King. It's, I love these stories. When are people going to learn? Don't ever go to some sort of council-organised Santa Wonderland. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, and what really bothers me is it's an insult to the real Santa, is what really bothers me about this story as well. Just wanted to say that.
This next story must be true because it's in the Daily Star. An OAP who can speak dog has trained a pooch to write a book, Nick.
Yes, we only the hardest-hitting stories here. Dog writes book. So this is a woman, Sylvia Evans, 80, says she has understood dogs her whole life. Weird that she's only bringing it up now in a way, but it's quite a good skill, isn't it? And explained how her Chihuahua and Jack Russell Cross Sam dictated the book in dog before she translated it into English. And then she insists, "I'm not mad." Sounds like my ex-girlfriend, but you've already a little bit of trouble when you're saying "I'm not mad" preemptively. Do you know what I mean? And so apparently, this is the first dog in North Wales to pen a book. I didn't realise it was only in North Wales, but apparently dogs have written books elsewhere. Later she says she's not completely mad, so she's qualifying it a touch there. But she says, I would laugh if I heard this but it's true. He's written the book.
What kind of dog is it?
I'd just say it's a Chihuahua and Jack Russell cross, Dominic.
Well, they're very bright.
They're the smartest
Got
one.
the hybrid vigour.
Yeah, she's bred them together for ultra intelligence.
Can your dog? Have you got a dog?
I don't have a dog. My fiance's got a cat.
Can it ride?
Can it ride both?
It's huge. It's 14 stone. No, kilos. 14 kilos.
14 stone. That's heavier than me.
It's huge.
Right, we're going to a dating app for unvaccinated Aussies next, which allows jab resistors to hook up. But where will they go for a date? They can't go anywhere if you're unvaccinated.
They're in Australia. They don't need to go to a licensed venue. They can just go to the beach or go and have a barbecue. So, yeah, this is in the mail. There's a new dating app, which could be a spoof. It will cater for unvaccinated Australians who are looking for love. I mean, it might have been set up by the government so they know who to go around and brutalise for the good of people's health. So they've got a website called Pure Match, which promises to help anti-vaxxers find each other. There's actually an identically named dating app for Christians, for single Christians. So users of the anti-vax dating app can indicate their interest in conspiracy theories and the New World Order and find love and then go for some sex on the beach.
That's what I like on a night out. I love talking about the New World Order.
Yeah, that's just the Daily Mail having a little jab, I think, because no pun intended. Because I like this idea. I hope it's true. Unvaccinated dating site. You know they're a critical thinker. You know they're not a sheeple. It's a great because now you see on Bumble, when you go on Bumble, allegedly I've heard, you find that a lot of the women have put vaccinated. Nearly all of them put vaccinated in their bio.
Yeah.
I find that off-putting immediately.
Yeah.
Ladies will be
vaccinated
across the
and
country.
pronouns.
And now the pronouns.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying to see that, because if you believe Jordan Peterson, who claims women are on average more agreeable, the app will suggest you, hey, put your vaccination status, put your pronouns. Men just go, no. But women are all, they're going along with it. I hate it. I like this. And by the way, if there was a Christian, you know, it's got the same name as a Christian, if there was a Christian unvaccinated app,
I've got to stop you, Nick. I'm sorry. I am in the top 10% in Tinder, by the way, but in my age and hair category. Right, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my guests, Leo Curson, Nick Dixon. Simon Evans will be with you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Goodbye.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello again. The next 24 hours sees significant changes take place with our weather. Initially, calm and chilly overnight, but then Storm Barra arrives on Tuesday morning, bringing a spell of disruptive wind and hill snow in some places.